takes a bit to get the producing here. I should be going live any second, hopefully. Good afternoon, Tony Dattino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship, and this is Monday, doing my 5 o'clock hour broadcast on different things, the Live with Tony, and the different elements of things we can do to continue to improve our brain health. And in particular, this segment is on a feature article I was reading from New Scientist magazine issue of April the 17th of 2021. And it talked about how to keep your brain blooming. And I like to think of it blooming because I hate to think of what they sometimes discuss as brain way of storming, right? We've had a couple of really bad storms here in the New York area over the last few days. And I don't like to think of our brain as storming for coming up ideas, but in fact blooming for ideas. So I love the title of this feature article, How to Keep Your Brain Blooming. So what are things that we can do every day that we can just embed into our daily activities of our life that provide strong evidence of brain health and mental, physical health as well? And I love it because it's the things that we've been talking about over the past year in my Live with Tony broadcast. So I just sometimes re-emphasize these things because I think we're still living with too many people that I encounter on a regular basis. And now that COVID restrictions are minimizing or being shrunk a little bit, I'm still beating the drum on, so what are the things that you can do to maintain good, strong brain health? And one that continues to become evident and supported by science more aggressively is the importance of social interaction. And sometimes I can see it not see it, but when I read articles that talking about people that are a little bit wacky because they're coming out of their lockdowns, they're coming out of where they've been restricted, and now they're coming into, like cattle coming out of a pen, they're going into a stampede. People are doing things that you would think, my God, if they were just a little bit more unemotional and a little bit more sensible, would they be doing things that may violate somebody else's rights or privileges and or breaking a law? But it supports one of our brain health concepts, which is social interactions are important to brain health. So in substituting, coming out of the pen, so to speak, and coming out of a COVID lockdown, what are some things that you can begin to do that are safe and smart and not over the top? Like, oh God, now my emotions have just taken over, and letting go. So I still have some concerns over arenas and sporting events and stadiums, and they're going to be packing them, and saying, I still think we have to be reserved, but yet we're just so pent up in the demand of social interaction and being involved with other people that I think we're kind of letting our guard down a little bit. So one of the things that we want to do to bloom, have a brain bloom, is to maintain good social interactions. And we've done that during the pandemic with Zooms and with webinars and things like Facebook and FaceTime. But now we're doing it now with real people, and it just, I see more people wanting to hug, and I'm still doing the fist bump thing, and I'm still trying to be reserved, still eating outdoors in terms of where I am. I will sit sometimes and we go to a ball field a few times a week and just watch kids running on a ball field and sitting on a bench that's hundreds of feet away from anybody else. But I'm at least beginning to think about things I can do to get out and enjoy living again, which is really what this is all about. Another one is, what are we eating? So nutrition is an important piece of our brain health. So the switching could play a role in helping create new brain cells. Animal studies have shown that there's a relationship between intermittent fasting and levels of brain-derived neurotropic factors and a protein that's critical to neurogenesis. Many researchers are now studying whether intermittent fasting can help slow the pace of aging. Now, intermittent fasting, I'm sure you've heard of 14 and 10, or 16 and 8, or 12 and 12, where you have these elongated periods where you might eat your final meal for the day at 6 p.m. at night and not eat your breakfast until maybe 8 or 10 the next morning. Or maybe you want to eat until 8 p.m. at night, but you won't eat your next meal until 12 o'clock for lunch the next day. And so what this article is suggesting is watching what we eat is a critical variable that may, in fact, slow down the pace of aging. Now, boy, I would like to live to be 100. I'd love to be able to see what science continues to uncover, especially as it relates to our human mind. And so trying to intermittent fast in periods of 12 and 12 or 14 and 10 is not the worst thing in the world for me if I get a return of slowing the pace of aging. What we consume matters. Today, 75% of the world's food is produced from only 12 plant and 5 animal species. It goes on to talk about omega fatty acids, but here's what I really, really love. And that is our ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats in our cave days was 1-to-1, but the ratio is now 20-to-1 because we have too many processed foods that contain vegetable oil. What we want to do is, and what they're suggesting is this creates an inflammation, it promotes inflammation, and it limits the creation of new brain cells and accelerates the death of the current ones. Well, who wants to do that? The interplay of the two is now being studied, but for brain health, a good ratio to aim for is 1-to-4, meaning omega-6 to omega-3, a 1-to-4 ratio, which can be achieved by consuming a wide variety of oily fish or foods like spinach or flax seeds. So what's wrong with having a good healthy diet and then changing our ratios from what the ratio was 20-to-1, then, oh, wait a minute, 21, 6-to-3, and flipping that and going 1-to-4. So follow what your foods are. A lot of processed foods are with your omega-6s, so if you hear the word omega, but there's a 6 after it, that's not a good thing. If you hear the word omega and you hear a 3, that's the kind of food that you should be eating more of in a ratio of 4-to-1, meaning 4 of omega-3 and 1 of omega-6. Another one that I've been blessed to have met some people in the medical world that I've practiced for years is the importance of vitamin D. Vitamin D. Receptors for the vitamin are now widely in the brain, and low levels of it are associated with poor mental performance and cognitive decline. To get enough vitamin D, we try sunbathing the brain. But for the most populations living above the 35th degree of north, which includes the UK, New Zealand, North America, from Washington, D.C. north, it is impossible to generate enough vitamin D via sunlight. Unfortunately, there is no conclusive evidence that vitamin D supplements slow cognitive decline. The best sources are fatty fish, eggs, butter, liver, and fortified cereals. Now, this one's a little crazy because what have we been told throughout our life? Vitamin D, great, go out and get sunlight. Well, if you live below Washington, D.C., you'll get enough of vitamin D in the sunlight, but yet what does your dermatologist tell you? Hey, half an hour in the sun a day, when especially when it's 90 degrees and the rays are just beating down on you, and the ozone layers are thinned out. So now we're in this conflict of where do I go get my vitamin D? So I'll go to the store and I'll get my vitamin D in a vitamin supplement. Well, this is suggesting that that's not going to do it for you. It's an essential vitamin. It's a critical factor in how we improve our mental performance and minimize cognitive decline. But in order to get enough of it, well, you got to even be sunbathing below Washington, D.C., or eating, again, the foods that we've already talked about here a few times. So vitamin D is a biggie. We can go on and on. One that we've talked about over and over again is in this article, talks about get moving. The overwhelming evidence is aerobic exercise has beneficial effects on the brain, including improved mood and thinking skills. It is similar to intermittent fasting in that exercise reduces inflammation. And what we know that inflammation in any part of our body has a negative impact to our overall system. So you got to think of your body as an overall system. By all of the ligaments and muscles and vessels and things that we have in our veins, we're kind of one holistic system. And so exercise is one of the things that they're seeing over and over again is a huge benefit to our overall physical well-being, but extremely beneficial to our mental health and well-being. Simple suggestion, get out of a chair every 10 minutes per hour and just walk in a circle and come back and watch television again if you are, work at your office. But every hour, get out of a chair for 10 minutes. We talked about the social interaction already, but the fifth one that I love here that they're suggesting that I beat this one up and beat this one up, is what? Learn something new. Learning new skills on an annual basis would be one of the best exercises that you could possibly do to maintain good, strong brain health. And that may be dancing or singing or a new hobby, a new subject that you may take online, an online course for. I hear more and more now in 2 years watching YouTube videos. So there's so many different ways that you can learn to improve your ability to process mental challenges that are crucial for your brain health. And then do what makes you happy. And that's an interesting perspective, because what science is suggesting, if we're doing things that are causing stress for us, right? What do we know that stress does? Well, it works the opposite. It creates a higher level of cortisol and inflammation. So you want to do things that are pleasant for you, that you might enjoy. So for example, if I'm running on a treadmill in a gym, I'm listening to Eagles and Air Supply and ABBA, different types of musical groups that I enjoy listening to, and 30 minutes on a treadmill in a gym goes by quickly. If I'm running outside, I think about the pathways I run on, and I want to look for ponds and trees and maybe a little bit of wildlife. Sometimes I'll run around ponds in Florida with gators that are swimming in the middle of them, and it certainly encourages me to run a little faster. But in any case, running outdoors to the point of where you're doing things that you enjoy is the critical variable. Social interactions that you enjoy, foods that you eat that you enjoy. All of these elements come together that summarize itself by doing things that make you happy. And that concludes my Monday evening Live with Tony broadcast. And if all goes well, I shall see you again on Wednesday evening. Have a good week. It's the beginning of it. Be smart. Keep those hands going in terms of wash. Keep your distancing. Keep, masking or not, I'll leave that up to you.